Hey there, bibliophiles. Today I have two incredible guests joining me. Susie, aka A Witch in Her Book, kept posting about this book called What Feeds Below, so I knew I had to read it. And I do not say this lightly. It is the perfect horror story. Which brings us to Tatiana Schlote-Bonne, the mastermind behind the book, that I immediately slid into the DMs over the minute I finished the last page. You might know her from Such Lovely Skin or The Mean Ones, but What Feeds Below hasn't even been released yet, and it's standing strong after 300 reviews with a 5-star rating. And yes, the advanced reading copies disappeared at BookCon in about an hour. Casually. So, needless to say, I've been looking forward to tonight for such a long time. Tatiana and Susie, welcome. Tatiana, how are you doing?
I'm good. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you for coming on. I mean, as soon as I finished the last page, I was like, I have to at least ask because this book is just so phenomenal. More people need to know about it.
Well, thank you. I'm so glad you felt that way.
So, for those unfamiliar with your next book, can you kind of give us a quick summary of what it's about?
Yeah, so What Beats Below is a YA horror fantasy. It's about two girls who give tours to rich people in the void, which is this massive cave system full of treasure and monsters. And when a job goes wrong, they have to find each other again.
Well, what inspired your idea and vision for what feeds below?
Yeah, so I wrote What Beats Below right after I finished writing The Mean Ones. And The Mean Ones is a folk horror adult novel. And that one pulled heavily from my own experiences, my own relationship trauma, and experiences with bullying, and just a lot of the same kind of like middle school and young adulthood drama that I was writing about in grad school. And so for What Feeds Below, I was like, my next book has to be fun, pure escapism. I don't want to write about like serious to me personal things for my next book. And I watch a lot of anime. So Made in Abyss is one of my favorite animes, and it has a similar premise in the sense that there is an abyss and it's this like massive hole in the world and the characters explore it. It has a bit more like sci-fi elements to it, but it's so full of wonder, and the exploration is both horrifying but also whimsy. And one thing I was thinking about while watching that show was if we had an abyss, I don't think it would get to be this whimsy and wonderful and like uh just like a piece of nature. I think we would, as humans, mine it and destroy it and sell it. And so that got the gears turning of like an abyss type world but more a capitalist society and what that will do to the characters. I also watched like Attack on Titan, Delicious in Dungeon, Apothecary Diaries, and so these are all animes with characters and worlds and like horrifying things happening that I wanted to include. A couple other movies that I really love are The Descent and Annihilation. I'm obviously very inspired by the things that I watch, as you can see. So, uh, what Feeds Below became my world that's inspired by all these different things. And yeah,
Who is your favorite character in the book and why?
um, my favorite character is probably Petra. I can get pretty attached to my main characters just because they're the ones that I spend the most time developing and thinking about and working through like what decisions they make and why. My second favorite character is probably Flint. I liked having I don't know. He's just like a chill dude who like has a good head on his shoulders and is very practical. Yeah.
Yeah, Petra was my favorite too. Like towards the end, I definitely cried because I related to her in ways that we've talked about. So yeah,
Yeah,
I love Petra.
for sure. Kendall, who is your favorite?
I really did like Petra, but I think what I admired most about the book was that there was not a single character I did not like. Like, even a villain or a threat, I was like, wow, this character is so cool. Like, I want to know more about them. And then I'd be like, oh, well, the scene's over because they didn't make it, but dang, they were pretty cool while they were there. So that was kind of one of my favorite things of every character introduced, I'm intrigued by.
Well, thank you. I had a lot of fun with them.
So, do your characters lead the storyline when you're writing, or are you like a plotter and you kind of like have it all planned out and you stick to like a script?
Um, so I like to think that I write very character-driven novels, and so I do a lot of plotting, yes, but I think of it more like blueprinting, and I don't write based on external events. I write the way I outline my novels is like Petra believes that her self-worth is tied to Jade. And so she's going to choose to go on this quest with Jade because she values Jade's opinion of her more than anything.
Yeah.
Because of that choice, this bad thing's going to happen. Because Petra still believes this one thing, she's going to then choose this next bad choice. And then so the way I try to write my plots is like they kick off because the character keeps making the wrong choice. I didn't invent this. I got it from Story Genius and Blueprint for a Novel, which are two of my favorite craft books. But it's all about how you create characters who are flawed and they keep making the wrong choice, and that causes external events to happen. And it makes the book feel tightly plotted, and like everything that happens has purpose and meaning. And I kind of had to fumble my way through bad writing to figure this out, where I would just have stuff happen. Um, but it's like if stuff just happens, then the reader doesn't care. And I'm always thinking about how do I get the reader invested. It's like it really comes down to what the scenes matter to the character.
Yeah, I always see people say things about like, oh, I didn't like, this book because the character kept making like stupid decisions. And I'm like, but if the character made the right decision, the book would be over after chapter one. Like
Yeah,
there's got to be some bad decisions along the way to kind of stretch the book out and see how the character grows and develops.
right. And that is a challenge because you don't want the characters just like stupidly making bad decisions for the sake
Yeah.
of the plot. So their bad decisions have to feel earned. And so I feel that I do try to spend a lot of time. Even if my characters aren't likable, I want the reader to be able to understand them and where they're coming from and why they feel this way.
Yeah. And I think someone who has been in a situation like Petra where you are like yearning for someone's like approval and like love, you could understand why she made the decisions that she made. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
Or why she kind of tolerated a lot of the stuff that she tolerated. And that's why I cried at the end because I'm like, I've been there. I feel that.
Well, I'm sorry that made you cry, but also thank
No,
you.
it's okay. I love it. I love that when a book makes me cry.
Yeah, and I think it's such a fine line between like yes, characters are to try and keep them human-ish, they have
Yeah,
to make bad
exactly.
decisions. No one wants to read a story about someone just making stupid blunder after stupid blunder, but
Hmm.
when you relate to them and you have that base foundation of a great character where it's like you may not agree with them, but you at least understand where they're coming from, that's what keeps them on the hook to be interested in how everything turns out.
Hmm.
I know we mentioned capitalism a little bit earlier, but capitalism is definitely a popular topic when it comes to the void. It's very intentional, like you mentioned earlier. What do you hope readers will take away from that?
Um, yeah, good question. I I don't really think about what I want the reader to take away from my stories too much. I think about what I think the book is about and what I think its themes and what its point is. And so when I was writing the story, I thought I was making some point or having some aboutness of capitalism being the real enemy and the way the pressure to make money and survive and like pay your rent and pay your bills, like how crushing that is for a person and how it literally does suck the life out of you. And in this grisly society, the lengths that would push people to go. And so that's what I was thinking about. Whatever message readers take from that, I'm sure I'm happy with it. Did you take anything from it?
That is similar to how I took it. I kind of saw it as what is really the difference between the void, which is like this, several layers deep cavern, versus what we're doing in our day-to-day jobs. Like it made it seem more real to me and like a more um, fantasy-ish setting, but it made me think to myself like, Whoa, no, this really isn't that far off from the truth at all.
Hmm. Yeah, I think I feel that way too. I can't just like enjoy something when I'm like watching an anime. I'm like, how are all these characters so getting by? Like, how are you paying for that cozy cottage? And so I did want to take kind of like a real world lens and put it on this fantasy world and see what kind of horror that would bring.
Yeah, and it shows, despite the different dynamic relationship dynamics that are at play, it shows what length people are going to go through for those that they love.
Hmm.
And yeah, I just feel like there was such a real element of that and made it very relatable to all of the characters and all of their decisions.
Well, good. I'm glad that worked out.
If What Feeds Below had a soundtrack, what would be the songs in that playlist?
Um, Probably like some Nine Inch Nails, for sure. And then other than that, though, I feel like it would need some kind of fantastical. It would have like an anime soundtrack, is what I'm picturing in my mind. When I wrote this book, actually, I listened to the Made in Abyss soundtrack, the Attack on Titan soundtrack, the Baldur's Gate soundtrack. Um, yeah, so the Lord of the Rings soundtrack.
I had to wear my Hosier shirt because, like, as I was reading, I had to pull him up, and I was like, this is just so moody,
Yeah,
eerie. So that was my unofficial
I
soundtrack as I was
I
listening.
can see that too. Yeah. I'm happy to hear what others think their soundtrack would be. Their soundtrack was probably more interesting than mine because I have to just put on like no lyrics, something to listen to while I write. And then yeah, I
Maybe that
don't
could be
I
like
don't
a fun challenge you do on Instagram. Like people have to create a playlist and like submit it to like win an arc or something. Like how you did the
that would be
dance,
fun.
like the
Yeah.
dance for the void.
Yeah, that would be fun. I am interested to see what people think.
Yeah, because I think sometimes for, especially people where words fail and that's not their strength,
Yeah.
musically, like that's the way to share how much they
Hmm.
care about something. That would be really cool.
For sure.
So I'm also always interested in how readers and writers came to be. Were you a big reader growing up? And if so, did horror always have your heart, or how did this all come to be?
Yeah, I was a reader when I was young, like in elementary school and middle school. And yeah, my favorite books were like Goosebumps and I read Stephen King. So horror really did get me into writing. And then I didn't read a lot in high school and even early college. And then I decided I was going to be a writer rather arrogantly, actually. It was a terrible choice looking back on, I don't know what I was thinking
What are you talking about? I love that.
I
That's how I
know.
got What
at the
Feeds
time.
Below.
You would have been depriving us of like such gold.
Well, thank you. But yeah, at the time, considering that I didn't even read a lot and definitely wasn't writing other than like essays that I had to turn in for class. But my teacher said I was good. I didn't know what else to do with my life. And so I was just like, I'm just gonna go become a writer. And so I Googled best writing schools and I moved to Iowa. And then I started taking English classes again. And then we read just like dreadful tombs that just like made me realize that I didn't want to read these at all. And so yeah, I returned to reading horror and just like started reading what was out and new in horror and then took some fiction classes and I just kind of like naturally gravitated toward being creepy. And and then I got into grad school and I wrote a bunch of some were good, some were just like pretentious dribble, personal essays and memoir. And then I also got sick of that and was like, I want to write for fun again. I want to write something that I would have wanted to read back when I found reading really tedious and boring. And so that's when I wrote Such Lovely Skin. And then I just kept writing horror from then on.
I think that you writing what you have joy for really shows in your work, because I think it showed in What Feeds Below, and that's what I was interested in, like reading your other works. And so I read Such Lovely Skin after What Feeds Below, and there's just like this level of care where you can tell from first page to last page, like you are very intentional about what you write. There's no fluff, in my opinion. Like it's just everything seems intentional. And as a reader, I enjoy that because I don't know, I'm a horror reader, thriller reader too, so I don't like prose and kind of the stuff for other genres, but I think that is something that I admire across both of those books of you're very intentional and it's always well done.
Well, thank you. Yeah, I do try to make sure that every scene has a point and it's moving the story along. And I feel that I write very tight books because of that. Sometimes I wish I could just like let go and like pad them out a little bit more, but I do really like my tighter stories. I feel like part of that is that I read and wrote so much fluff in grad school that it turned me away from wanting that at all. Um, and I do think that having been around a lot of like highbrow English lit people, that horror can get this reputation for being like dumb people books, which I don't feel at all. Even though I feel that my books are very accessible and that like any level of reader could read them and enjoy them, I feel that they're still doing smart and layered things. I've just delivered them in this entertaining, lighter way, which I don't think diminishes the literary quality of them, but I think some might argue otherwise. But that's where I stand on that.
I feel like Susie and I are like waiting for the other person to be like, well, they're wrong at the same time.
Yeah. Well, we know you're a power lifter. We see your videos on Instagram. How long have you been doing that? And like, what got you into that? And what's the heaviest you've lifted?
I started lifting in college. This just came about from like a boyfriend, and then there's a lifting club at Iowa, and just like being around people. So just like finding the right community that got me into it. Um, yeah, technically, I do weightlifting, Olympic weightlifting. So that's the snatch and the clean and jerk. I also do some powerlifting, so that's squat, bench, and deadlift. I coach a powerlifting specific class. So, like, Sadie's a powerlifter in the mean ones, and I made her a powerlifter, even though I primarily do weightlifting because weightlifting is like way harder and more tedious to describe. So that's where like the snatch is where you see me pick it up off the floor and it goes
Hmm.
all the way overhead in one movement. Awful to write about. I don't want to subject anyone to that. But deadlift, that's pretty simple. You just bend over, pick it up, push through your legs. What's the heaviest I've lifted? I mean, on a good day, I can snatch 140 pounds, but I try to not get too hung up in what numbers I'm lifting or have lifted in the past. I feel that that's a great way to siphon the joy out of my lifting, especially since I'm not a competitive lifter at this point in time. Um, yeah, so I can throw some weight around, but mostly it's just for my health and mental health and enjoyment.
Yeah, that's awesome. I love your videos of when you lift. Every time you lift, I remember when I used to lift in the gym, I had to stop because I have scoliosis. So my doctor kind of was like, you need to like stop because I would forget to push from my feet and I would use my back. So I was like
Hmm.
hurting myself. So I had to stop. But yeah, it is good for mental health. I used to love lifting weights. It's amazing.
Yeah, it is. I'm really glad that I get to do it and that I, yeah, enjoy it.
Yeah. So you've written Such Lovely Skin, The Mean Ones, and What Feeds Below. Which of the three would you say is your favorite?
I think What Feeds Below. And part of that is because it was like my my joy book. Um, Not that the others weren't, but this one I set out purely to have fun writing and reading again, and to not even do what I saw other books doing, but to do what I saw anime doing. Which surprisingly I feel did work out in a book. Um, but also I feel the most attached to whatever I'm currently writing at the time. So I am working on a new manuscript that has no book deal, so I can't really talk about it because it's just a Word document on my computer. But I feel like this is my best writing, and part of that is because I feel that I get so much better with each book that I write. And that like my craft sharpens. I think I learn more about my voice, and how I like to approach character. And so I just feel like I get better with each thing that I write. And so the newest thing that I'm writing, I feel is always what I'm most proud of.
Gosh, I can't wait for the new book.
Thank
I
you.
can't either. I have so many questions because I feel like What Feeds Below is very fantasy, so I was like, oh, this is so cool and entertaining. But like such lovely skin because I have a 3-year old. I was like, I have two new fears I've unlocked about being a mom of
Yeah.
a young kid now. So it was very much like really more horror for me as a reader for that one. So, and I think since you've done both, like a very more realistic versus like the more fantasy ish of the void, like, and you've
Hmm.
done both very well. Like, I'm so excited to see which way the next one leans.
I will say I've gone back to the real world for this one.
Okay.
And part of that was because Blood People was exhausting. Like, all the creatures, the setting, the like economy,
And like the
just it
world building and stuff.
the yeah, the world building, it was exhausting. And I it has now made me like I always really admired fantasy and sci-fi writers for what they do because I always used to think like I could never make up my own world. And then I delusionally decided that I was going to do it for What Feeds Below. Um, and I was just like, it's not going to be that bad because it's not going to be that different from Earth. There's just a hole in the ground, but it was that bad. Um, and as I was finishing writing that book, I was like, never again. Not really never again, but I was like, the next thing that I write has to be grounded in the real world. I'm not doing all this world building again.
No, I feel like with the level of detail, because some books I'm like, oh, I wish this is a movie. I wish this is a TV show. I was like, I need What Feeds Below as a video game. I would play the hell out of that.
It would be really fun as a video game.
So, what's a book you've read recently that you loved and would recommend to others?
Yeah, Bruja's Nest by Brenda Latore. She's another
Oh, that's the book
future
you keep
publishing
talking
author.
about.
Yeah, oh yeah, I sent you the picture, so you already have it. Or like you have the cover in your DMs. Yeah, that's a really great horror novel about a traumatized young woman who gets into indentured servitude at this estate, and then she decides she's going to get pregnant from one of the guys to like elevate her status, and it's um just like full of really rich body horror and is trippy and yeah, great feminist horror.
So, for you as a reader, what makes something a good horror? Like, what are the things that you look out for?
Yeah. Um, I think similar things in my own writing, like the compelling characters, not just stuff happening for the sake of horror, but like these scares and like this trauma means something. I also just finally read The Reformatory for the first time. Um, yeah, my gym book club read it. We had a great time talking about it, and like that's an example that comes to mind where like the horror is really steeped in the characters' lives and like what it personally means to them. So I'm looking for like deep personal stakes. Um, Also great body horror. I love a good searing image that sticks into my mind. Uh, Bone of My Bone by Johanna Van Veen does that really well. That's her next upcoming horror. That should be out really soon, but that is a like medieval folk horror, and the two women are on this quest through the medieval countryside, and she has this great image. There's this like undead person, and their flesh is bunched up like a scarf around their neck. I love a good simile. I love a good horror image that sears itself into my brain like that.
That sounds amazing.
Um, and I love themes that just resonate with me. So like women snapping, um, women conforming and then like finally breaking. I love feminist rage. Maeve Fly is another one of my books. I love it anytime. women characters
Oh.
get to break the mold and challenge the archetypes that they've always filled in horror.
I recently read Mayfly, and my expectations were wildly different than what the book actually was. Um, and I enjoyed it a lot because of those last chapters. I was lucky enough to get an advanced reading copy of Headlights,
Hmm.
and it is so different. I once again thought I knew what I was getting because of Mayfly and was just like bawling my eyes out at the end, which is not usual for me. And Susie loves my facial expression, so I had to send her like me crying over this book, which does not happen very often. But I get it.
Yeah.
Like Mayfly, those last chapters, the snapping, the body horror,
Hmm.
yes.
I haven't read Headlights yet, but I'm really excited to.
See, I like body horror, but like I have a limit. Like splatterpunk is like too much for me, or like the extreme body horror. I don't know.
I haven't read any like splatterpunk or
Yeah,
extreme horror, so it might not be for me either. Like I said, I like my horror very rooted in the characters, and so
yeah.
it's gonna depend.
Yep, same. It has, for me, as awful and twisted as this might sound, it has to have purpose. Like, if it's just
Hmm.
violence for the sake of violence, I don't like that.
Yeah.
But if it's someone who, like, I followed their journey and it kind of makes sense, even though I don't condone them doing these things in real life, disclaimer
Yeah.
here, but that's where I'm like, okay, this is a payoff for me.
For sure. Yeah, I feel the same way.
I just want to say you look so pretty, Tatiana.
Well, thank you. So do you.
Yeah,
So
I'm
do
just
you
like
both.
getting like home from work, so I'm in my like teacher outside.
Well,
No,
it looks
Susie,
good.
whenever you're
You
on my laptop screen, you're the best thing I've seen in all day.
Stop. And yeah, BookCon was so great. Seeing the line, like I got there super early to get on your line because I knew it was gonna be like crazy. And by the time I got there, there was already like a bunch of people there just waiting around. I was like, this is so exciting that people were like
That is so
excited about your
exciting.
book. Yeah. And I felt so bad because they had a cutoff. I think it was like 50 or 100 arcs.
Mm-hmm.
And the people were so disappointed when they're like, people were counting and they're like, there's no point of me waiting online. Like, sorry.
Yeah, that sucks.
And then I saw someone that was like at the booth wearing what feeds below tank top, and I'm like, where's the merch? I would buy merch
Yeah.
like today.
That's she works for the publisher, right?
Yeah, that's Naomi.
Naomi.
Yeah, she's the one
Yeah.
who acquired the book, so What Feast Below exists because of her. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh,
Let's,
God bless her.
Yeah, we
yeah.
definitely need merch. That cover is too pretty to not be like on t-shirts and a tote bag. Like we need merch. You gotta work
I
out this
have,
licensing deal thing.
yeah, I have asked Bindery about it, so
Yeah.
TBD.
It's it's such a beautiful cover.
It really is.
Like when I
Is that
held the arc in my hand, I was like, oh my God, this is so pretty.
It is really
It's
pretty.
so pretty.
It's also so eye catching because literally the only reason why I found out about it is like, oh, this is the book that's in Susie's stories because the other ones just kind of blend together sometimes where it's just like a house and some neon font and stuff. But I'm like, God, I see this
Yeah.
everywhere. And then when I went into NetGalley, I was like, oh, there it is. Like, I didn't even know it was available on NetGalley. Let me request it.
I only post it every day. I mean, come on.
Right. Yeah. Well, thank you for doing that. Actually, like word of mouth recommendations is really how books sell. So please keep
Yeah.
doing that. Please keep posting it in your story every day. It
Mm-hmm.
doesn't bother me at
Mm-hmm.
all. In fact, I love it.
Yeah, I
Every
know.
time, every time I tell somebody about Wolfie's Bill, they're like, "Is that the book you're always posting?" I'm like, "Yeah."
And it's amazing. Yes.
Hmm.
But yeah, this is amazing. I've been really looking forward to this for a long time
Yeah, me
because
too.
like I can't remember the last time I read a horror book that felt so complete. Where
Yeah.
I didn't have any lingering like I wish I knew more about X. Like I feel like this wasn't resolved. I mean the ending still like screws with me. Um and I'm not really sure what was real and what was not, but in a good way, in a good way.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
when you
well, thank
messaged
you.
me, Kendall, after you finished the book and you told me how much you loved it, it made me so happy. It was like you were complimenting a book I wrote. I was like, yes.
That's
Yeah,
funny.
had to let you know.
Well,
Well,
thank
and it was funny
you.
too because I had I had DM'd you, Tatiana, because I was like, I have to shoot my shot. This book is so good. Like, she'll probably never see this. And I was like, Susie, you're not gonna believe me. Like, I slid in Tatiana's DMs, and she's like, oh, yeah, Tatiana's great. Like, I talk to her sometimes, and I was just like, of course you do, Susie. You know everybody.
Well, I'm so glad that you did that. You shot your shot and it worked out.
Yeah. So, Tatiana, what are some upcoming projects you'd like to announce? Or if listeners who are new to you need more Tatiana in their life, how can they follow you and keep in touch of all the latest and greatest going on with you?
So I can't announce my next book yet, since I don't even have a next book, if I'm being honest. But hopefully I will. And listeners can follow me on socials at the Buff Writer.
I will also link that below. I will also link to Tatiana's link tree. That way, if you're interested in pre ordering What's Feed Below, if you haven't yet, and if you know me and follow me, I take that as a personal insult if you haven't. Also, I'll include Susie's link. That way, you're in the know of all the greatest and latest recommendations as well. But for that, I think we'll close out tonight, ladies. Thank you so much.
Bye,
Thank
guys.
you.